Good morning, everybody. I hope that you are all doing well. It's a balmy 28 degrees this morning in sunny Maine. So I'm in my studio with my cup of vanilla tea. I always have 2 cups of tea in the morning. Gets me going and warms me up in this chilly state. Today we are going to start decorating inside of our junk journal idea book. Today's going to be all about pockets. The next video this month will be making some embellishments using the kits that you're getting if you're in the Bookmaker Enthusiast membership level. I don't know what's going to be in the kits yet. I'm not finished putting them together, but one thing that you are going to get is one of these really cool envelopes that I found. I loved the color of these, so you're going to get one of these. And other than that, I'm just not done putting it together. So today is all about pockets, as I said. And oh, wait, sorry. Look at how adorable this is. I put this in the Patreon today for everybody as a freebie. It's sheet music. Get it? I found this in the public domain this morning, and over in Patreon there's a little history of this. But you can download it, and this is going to look so cute in a journal. And I'm a musician, so I love anything to do with music. And yeah, go check that out. That's free for everybody. And I also wanted to say that I'm going to be doing a giveaway because I do have 3 bookbinders kits left over from um, last month's Bookmaker Enthusiast kits. I have 3. I bought 3 too many, so I'm going to be doing a giveaway of those. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So okay. So usually when I do a journal, I'm bringing you along in the steps that I would do it. I'm trying to make this really easy for everybody because especially if you're a beginner, it can be really overwhelming. So usually what I do is all of the things that we've done so far. We folded our signatures, and then we did all of the fun elements on the edges and the tops. We did our cover and our dangle, and we sewed our signatures in. Excuse me. And then you would decorate the inside covers if you want to do that as well. The next thing I normally do is I put pockets in. And then lastly, I start to decorate. So we're going to put some pockets in today. I have a whole bunch of different styles to show you and some techniques. I put one in this morning and started to film this video, but something went wrong, so I will just show you. I cut this from an old calendar. Always save your calendars from previous years. They have beautiful images in them. So I just cut this out, and then I used my edge punch, my all-time favorite edge punch that I love. I love this thing. And then I just sewed. I took it to my sewing machine and I sewed around the edges and I taped it in as a pocket. The page that I taped it on was a digital misprint. When I make digitals, or print digitals, I always have misprints, but I save them and I use them. This is one. And I showed in a previous video, it was probably over on YouTube, how to break up the white page. So this was not a double-sided print. And so what I did was I spritzed this down really heavily with water. And you can do it on either side depending on how deep the color is. So the ink, if you use an inkjet printer, not laser but ink, the ink is going to seep through to the other side, and you get some fun blotches of color, and it makes your paper crinkly, which we all love that sound. So I showed that in the video. So the next thing I want to show you for a pocket, so this one is style 1, where you just cut something out of a magazine or a piece of scrapbook paper or a calendar, anything that you have on hand, use an edge punch, put it through your sewing machine if you have one, and stick it down. I want to show you this fun one, which maybe I've shown some of these before, but I like to have things like today is going to be all about pockets, so you can go back to this video anytime you want to sit and make pockets and make them along with me. So this is another one that I made out of some pretty map themed paper, and it opens up and opens up with two flaps and two little pockets here, and then it has this cute little closure. So let's make this. For this one, you do need, it's going to work best with scrapbook paper because to make this size, you're going to need a piece that's 12 inches long. So scrapbook paper is 12 inches long, and so it's perfect for this particular pocket. So I cut two strips that they're 12 inches long by 4 inches wide. You don't have to have two strips. You can use scraps for your inside pockets, but I think it's really pretty if you use the same piece of paper and flip it over. So this is going to be the outside because I think this is the prettier side, and this is going to be these. I'm going to make my pockets out of this. Okay, so you're going to score or fold at 3 inches and 7.5 inches. This pocket looks a lot more complicated than it really is. And then you might have to trim off just a hair, tuck it under and see if it folds nicely. If it does, cool. If not, just trim a little hair off of here. I do like to round the corners. I think I'm just going to do 1/4 inch. And that's all there is to the outside, so let's make our inside pockets. I'm going to cut this 4-inch strip. I'm going to make two pieces that are 4 by 2 3/4 because I want 2 pockets. My workstation here is L-shaped. I really love an L-shaped workstation, so my cutter is over there. Don't need this scoreboard anymore. My trimmer, I should say. Okay, so now I have, oh, you know what? I wasn't thinking. Yeah, I am going to have my pockets go this way, because otherwise you can't see them. So I like to take these and just take my circle punch and make a tiny little thingy. I don't know what you would call that. Divot? I don't know. Tiny little cut. I don't know why I feel I have to come up with a technical term for everything. And you know me, Tim Holtz Vintage Photo. Gonna ink the edges just to make the pocket a little more prominent. Okay, we're only going to put the top one on first because we have to do our little closure before we put the bottom one on. So I'm going to tape 3 sides just like you would on any pocket. Well, you don't always have to tape all 3 sides down. Sometimes you can leave one side up if you want to be able to stick things in this way, but generally speaking, we do 3 sides. And of course, use glue or whatever you have on hand. Okay, so we're just going to put this on. Here's my other fold, and I'm going to put it on about halfway down, maybe 3/4 of the way down, because you want to have enough room to stick things, to be able to stick things in here. If you put it all the way up here, you're not going to be able to put anything in there. So that's a little crooked, but I can fix it later. Okay, so now let's do our little closure that goes on here. This little thing, I I think I've done this before, but it's a really simple way to keep things shut and nice and neat in your journal. So what you need is something like this. This you can use your smallest circle punch, probably one smaller than this, and punch out a circle. Maybe punch out 2 circles and tape them together so it's nice and strong. Or fussy cut out something. You can fussy cut out a butterfly or I mean anything. You can use anything for this. I have a little drawer here of die cuts, so I'm going to use a little flower like I did with this original one, and then you do need a brad, and we'll use just a little scrap of paper for that. So I'm going to ink this up because it didn't cut very well. And find a brad to go through the center. Of course, if you don't have a die cut like I do, you just use your hole punch. Okay, don't do anything with this yet. We need to stick it through. Okay, there's my pocket. I'm gonna get another little strip of paper here, and it's going to be, let me measure this other one, about 2 3/4 by 1/2 inch wide. That doesn't have to be exact. It just has to be big enough so that it's going to extend up here enough to hold the flap down. And then I do like to round my edges on the top. Oops, not totally necessary, but can if you want. Then we need a little hole to put our brad through. Put your brad through there, so now you have this, and now this can go on here. And I ended up doing mine a little too high because the pocket's supposed to cover it, but either way, you do want to put something over it because as you're trying to stick things down in your pocket, it's going to catch on that. So I usually just take a piece of paper, I'll probably put it this way, and I'm going to tape over that and cover that over. And now our pocket can go down, and I'm going to put the pocket so it kind of covers the crease of this strip of paper that I put on. Yeah, you know what I did this morning? Why I had to refilm the beginning? Because I paused the video to go down and get some more tea. And I came back up and started re-recording, and I'm talking away, and I had hit record, but it wasn't recording. So every time I hit record to record, I wasn't, and every time I hit pause, I was really recording. Everything was backwards. And I was talking to myself. So I captured some funny moments there. Maybe I'll do a compilation of my bloopers one of these days. Oh. Okay. Look at that. I love it. Let's put it in our idea book. Find a nice place for it. Ooh, it'll look nice on this little undercut page that's kind of plain. I think I'll do that. The colors match nicely. I'm going to put double-sided tape on the back of this. That is lovely. I love it. I love that. And that's such a pretty piece of scrapbook paper, and the colors kind of look nice too. All right, let's do another style of pocket. Let's pull my other junk journal idea book over. And this is the pocket that we're going to make now. This is a super fun one because it has two side openings, and you can stick things in there like tags, and it would look especially pretty with some fabric or ribbon hanging off of your tags, and then that kind of gives you another element that sticks out the side of your book. And this one is super easy to make. This is another one that sort of does better when you use scrapbook paper or something that's a little thicker. I wouldn't use a real thin piece of paper, or if you do, then maybe glue two sheets together. And actually, in my scrap bin, I have this piece of wallpaper, so I think I'll use this. This is what's nice about having an idea book, is that you can measure. You have one sample in your book, and then if you want to make a bunch, you don't have to redo your measurements. I love that, not having to figure out measurements again. So this is 4 3/4 by 7, but you want to make sure, I think that's going to be a little big for my little book. Well, no, that actually fits perfectly. So I would cut it just under the size of whatever page you want to put it on. So I'm probably going to cut it down just a little bit. Maybe I'll do 4.5 by 6 3/4, so I have a little bit of border to play with. So 4.5 by 6 3/4. There we go. Let's test that out. That's a really nice size. Okay, and then because we're going to have two pockets, I do like to sew something up the middle. So I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and sew a piece of ribbon across the center, but you can just glue something on, a strip of paper, a piece of ribbon, whatever you want, or nothing if you just want, one look. But I do like to put something up the center, so I'll do that and be right back. So I had this scrap of fabric left over from an Alice in Wonderland album that I made. And I'm not sure if I like what I did here. Let me just trim it up. Not sure if I like that. But at this stage of the game, I'm just putting pockets in. And then what I do when we get to the decorating portion, sorry, let me clip my headset back on. What I do when we get to the decorating portion is, if there are things that I don't like, I adjust them at that time. I could go through and I could maybe glue that down. I think that looks a little better. And I can decorate this if I don't like it. And that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. But that will be at the next stage. I'm not going to worry about it right now. So now that I have something sewn up the center, I'm just going to take my round punch again, my circle punch. Punch 2 holes. And you know what? I lied. I am just going to take Fabri-Tac and, well, no, I'm not going to take Fabri-Tac. I'm going to take this back to my sewing machine and sew that down with a zigzag. I think that will make me feel better. Be right back. Okay, I like that better. And I can, like I said, I can decorate this further later. So now let's tape it down. We're going to tape it down here, oops, here and here. Tape it down on 3 sides. You can, if you want, also put tape up the center. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. It just might keep things from moving around a little bit, but this is not a mini album, it's a junk journal, so I really don't care. I love it. Let's put some tags in here. Let's see. Now I have a box that is just my cat food came in it. I've lost both of my kitties within the past year, but I still have the box. And what I like to do when I finish a project is take my scrapbook paper. If I can't make something out of it, I fussy cut what I can out of it, but if I just have plain scraps left over, I cut them all into rectangles and squares, and then I just take them to my sewing machine and just sew them. It's fun. You just sew away and don't even think about it, and then you have some stash. And I'm wondering if this one will fit. And that might be kind of nice with that black there. But is that going to stick out too far? Sticks out a little bit. But I can't trim off the bottom because I sewed the bottom. That's the only problem. Well, I can still trim off the bottom. Let's do that. But I will keep the piece that I just cut off because it has some cool sewing on it. I could go there. Maybe. I'll put that there for later. There we go. Okay. Let me see if I can find another skinnier one. Here's a fun one. Put that in there. And then that can stick out like that. Yeah, that looks cool. See? All right. I probably will glue this on and decorate this band further. But that's our next pocket style. This I just pulled out of my stash. What this is just a piece of scrap paper from a mini album, but you can use anything. And I put sewing pattern paper on it. I saw this zipper and I thought that was super fun. So just take a square or some shape that you want to put down. Where do I want to put it? It's kind of monochromatic, so I don't want it to go on there. It might look right nice there. I don't know, you're probably all yelling at me. Put it there, put it there. There we go. Let's put it here. Okay. So this by itself can be a pocket, but let's add another element so it's kind of a double pocket. So what I'd like to do is find a strip in my scraps, which is going to be very easy to do because I have a ton of scraps. And that's a pretty color, so because we have the blue here and some blue here. And I'm just going to cut a thin strip, and I cut it the width of my pocket, and it's an inch high, but you can go however high you want. And I am just going to put a thin strip of tape on the bottom, just a quarter of an inch of tape or glue. Yeah, sewing pattern paper is super fun to use. You just use it like tissue. I use it a lot. Okay, so now what we have here is, I have to find something tiny, is now we have a pocket where something can go there, and there's also a pocket here. So let me do this pocket. Put that down. Whoops. When I adhere the tissue paper, I usually just use my glue stick, and it works really well. I just missed that spot. Make sure I don't glue that to my page. And I don't know if I have any little teeny weeny tags right now, but I have that little strip of thing. Nah. Let's see. Nah. I have another video where I did this little thing. I think it's over on my YouTube. And about, is that too long? That's too long. I can go in there though. In my little box here, I guess I don't have anything that's kind of tiny and dainty that can go in there. We'll make something later. No, I don't really have anything. We'll make something later and stick it in there. I could put that in there just as a placeholder, I guess, to remind me. But there you have a double pocket. This is really fun also to do with your scrapbook scraps. Excuse me, scrapbook paper scraps. So the one that I did in my other idea book, these are all just scraps from a kit, a scrapbook paper collection. It's just, kind of a boring piece that I didn't use, but there was a border in there, so I put the border across the bottom, and then I fussy cut two of the things out of the kit and put it in there. And this one I did glue down all the way. This is just a small pocket, but it's a great use for your scraps, and I put a little staple there. Oh, also in my idea book I have another one of these pockets that we just made, the double pockets. But what I did was I took a tag and I stuck 3 tags together, and these are actually clothing tags. And I put one tag in the pocket and the others stick outside of the pocket. Isn't that fun? I wish the love and the laugh were flipped so they were right side up, but yeah, that's a fun way to decorate this pocket that we just made. In another class, we made these what do you call these? Polaroid. Polaroid frames. And I sent you the supplies to make these. This is acetate here. So this can be another pocket where you can stick something behind there so that it's showing behind the acetate. So that would be considered a pocket too, but because I already did that in another class, I'm not going to do that right now. The next pocket, I should just keep my other idea book out here. The next pocket is another double pocket, but in a different style. So we have one piece on the bottom here, we have a second piece here, and a third piece of paper here, and then these both become pockets. So let's do this one. I'll give you some measurements, although you'll have to adjust for your book. For this pocket, I'm going to use scrapbook paper again. The only reason why is that I'm trying to use up my scraps, and right now, because I've been making a lot of junk journals and preparing for craft shows and stuff, I only have stuff that is very antique or very thin and is going to easily tear. I really don't have anything in my stash that is more substantial right now. So I would prefer to use up some of my scrapbook scraps. But you certainly can, if you have some good scraps or some digitals that you've printed, you just need 3 scraps of coordinating paper that kind of look good together. So I have these that I think I will use. Just have to decide what I want on my bottom and what I want in my middle and what I want on my top. Just kind of audition your paper a little bit. And I like that. Yep, I like it like this. So this is going to be the base, this is going to be the second pocket, this is going to be the third pocket. The first pocket is going to be according to your page and according to how much of a border you want to leave. This, am I going to put it on here? Let's see. Oh, here's another page, by the way, that I spritzed with water. Look how cool that ended up on the back. I'm going to put it here. Okay. So this is a right-sided pocket. You're putting your stuff, your tags and things in on the right, so it does kind of work better on the right side of your book. So I'm just going to measure my paper and decide how much of a border I want. On this one, I left quite a bit of the coffee paper showing. On this one, this is a smaller book, so I'm probably not going to have quite as much showing. So this is, I think I'll do 7 by 4 3/4 for my base. Let's see if I'm happy with that. Yeah, I have just about an eighth of an inch border around my base piece. So once you have your base, you don't really need your book. We're going to put everything together here on the desk and then glue it on when we're done. The next piece, I lost my second piece. Here's this. Oh, there it is. The next piece, which I think is going to be this yellow, yeah, is going to be the same height as what you just cut and go over about 3/4 of the sheet. It doesn't have to be exact, but to decide how much you want in between the pocket. I think that half looks kind of funny, it looks way too symmetrical, so I go over just a little more than halfway. So on this, I would probably go over to about 3.5 inches. There, I like that better because I want this pretty paper to show. And then the top pocket is not going to go over to the edge, and it's not going to be the same height as this. It's going to be more in off-centered on here, and I'll show you in a minute. So I'm going to cut mine at about, let's say, 2 1/4 by 6. Okay, so you can see that that is smaller on the top, bottom, and sides. than the other. Than this one. You can put it all the way over to the side if you want, but again, I think that's too symmetrical. I think it looks much nicer offset like that. I do like to sew these together, but you don't have to. But what I did on this one was I took it to the sewing machine. I kind of tacked these down a little bit, sewed it around the edges here, and made sure that I went up the edge of this last flap. So once I make my little, whatever you call them, I still haven't come up with a name for it, my little half moons here with my circle punch. There we go. And this I'm even gonna maybe offset that. Is that more interesting than this? Let's see. I think I'm just gonna leave it like that. Okay, let's ink all this up. I know this video is getting long, but you can fast forward and pause and come back to it. I'm just going to put a little tack of tape on here. I don't like to put a lot because I don't want the tape getting all into my sewing machine. I'm just going to tack these down very lightly. Ooh, that's kind of pretty. I didn't see that. I like them both. Which one do you like? Which one should I go with? Alright, I'm going to go with this. Is that what you chose? Now I need to ink this side. Oh, look how crooked this is. There we go. All right. And it looks a lot nicer if you try to line your two half circles up here. And oh, actually, I'm sorry, the top pocket I am going to tape down because it's only one edge that is getting, only this edge that is getting sewn. So I do need to tape the top and the bottom. If you're not sewing, then you're going to obviously go through and use your tape or your glue and do here, here, and here on this one, and the same on this one. You already know that. Okay, so my half moons are sort of lined up. I'm going to take it to the sewing machine. Be right back. I'm back. For you, I was only gone 1 second, right? All right, I'm happy with the way this turned out. My sewing's a little wonky up there, but I don't care. So now I have a pocket here and a pocket here. I'm going to put it in the book. You could, if you made this really smaller than your page, you could have a top pocket here or a side pocket as well, but I don't have the room on my book, so I'm just going to go ahead and put this, tape the whole thing down. Put this on here. Beautifimous. I like this. I think I want to ink up my coffee pages here. Or actually, these aren't coffee pages, they're newsprint. It's a newsprint that I bought. And then we just need a couple of tags or journal cards. So I have my box here, and I'm sure that some of these are going to fit. This will accommodate ones that are a little bigger. So there's one, and that is just a scrap. That's all it is that I took to my sewing machine, and I can journal on the back. That looks pretty. And then what else do I have? Okay, I'm taking too long. This is not rocket science, Cindy. Just pick something. I like that one. Oh, I like that. Okay. And we can even put something on here later if we want. But there's our next pocket style. Yay!